Hello everybody, it's Maria here from Pebbly Rose Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Welcome and thank you all so much for stopping by. I hope everyone's coping well and they're safe and they're healthy, and I hope you are all doing okay in isolation. I know it's not easy, but there are really cool ways to keep yourself occupied, and one of them is card making. And best of all too is you can send it off to friends and family and you can let them know you're thinking of them. So that's one of the benefits of card making. This year with Easter coming up, I decided not to make Easter cards. I normally make those every year, but this year I decided not to do it because I'm not feeling it, to be honest. For me, being Greek Orthodox background, going to church and seeing family and friends is a very big deal, and this year we're not seeing, family and friends, and it makes it really hard. So I'm not feeling it this year for that, but I'm quite happy to make cards for other occasions. So yeah, anyway, so today I'm going to feature the Good Morning Magnolia. Now I know this is not a cheap stamp set. However, if you do use it for multiple occasions, then it kind of pays itself off. So I got this in my starter kit when I joined Stampin' Up earlier this year again, and this was my free set. So you can take advantage of any line images you have. So today's card is budget. The only outlay, I suppose, that you will have, if anything, is a stamp set. That would be the most expensive part. But in terms of the card design itself, that's the budget part, and you can stretch your materials along that way as well. So that's what I mean by budget. So I hope it makes sense to you. So anyway, so I'm going to be using the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. This is the first time I'm inking it up since I've gotten this stamp set. And I'm going to be using this large image over here. And today I'm going to be using Whisper White cardstock. This is thick Whisper White. This is half an A4, and then I've scored it in half again. So what I'm going to do is just burnish the score line that I've previously prepared. And you will need a scrap piece of Whisper White again that goes over the top and has the right kind of border around it. Now, with this piece, you're thinking, well, how can I use this on the front? It looks terrible. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some cardstock, 2 sheets. I'm using, so basically it's a quarter of a page of cardstock, A4. So I'm using basic grey and smoky slate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these pieces into strips. I don't have many strips on hand, but this is one way you can use your scraps. So if, for example, you have like your 1/4 inch straps like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere these down on a diagonal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into strips, into 1/4 inch strips. And I can use this for other cards as well, so you can make a couple of cards out of this. So I'm going to use my trimmer, and I'm going to cut a strip at 1/4 inch. That looks like that. So I will continue on to cut these, and then I will be back with them completed. I think I forgot to press record. So what I have done with this strip is I've put glue, and I've just added some strips in alternate colours of basic grey and smoky slate. So what I'll do now is just continue on doing that. Very sorry, I forgot to press record again. Very silly of me. Anyway, so we'll continue on. And we're almost done. So I put liquid glue all over that panel, and then I'm just aligning these every alternate way, so it's on a diagonal. This makes it economic because you can use then these other strips that we're going to cut off for another project, for a smaller panel. So I've got one more here. I'll use this one here, and then go like that, so we can get a bit more strip out of it. Okay, so I'll just give it a good press down and make sure it's all stuck down, and underneath there you've used a scrap piece. So I'm just going to add a little bit more glue because it doesn't look like I added enough on the corner there. So I'll make sure it's quite, it's got a bit of glue there. So I'll just put that on there. So these are just 1/4 inch strips of basic grey and smoky slate. And what I'm going to do now is turn that over, and I'm going to grab my scissors and we're going to trim the edges. So I'll start off on this side and just trim up. Just carefully trim. So you have even little pieces of confetti. Again, you can also use these pieces in a shaker card too if you wish. So that's like an economic way of saving your scraps as well for lots and lots of different uses. So I'll just go across here like so. Just trim a little closer to the... Okay, now I'm going to trim right down. And these other little strips, again, if you keep those, you can use them for lots of other occasions. Keep that stable. This is a great way of using scraps without... Now that didn't glue down properly, so I'll add a little bit more glue. Oops. Open that up would be helpful. And we trim off that edge. So if you've got lots of these little 1/4 inch strips, keep them because they will make fantastic little projects. Okay, so there we have our striped background with using scraps, or you can purposefully cut up some cardstock. That is completely up to you how you want to do that. But I thought it'll just add a fun element to your card. If we put that up the front, that looks fabulous. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this piece into my Stamparatus. And I'll take out the foam because you don't need the foam with that. I'm going to add my embossing buddy, and we're going to emboss this large floral image onto here. So I'll just do that really quick, and you can choose whatever colours you wish and whatever combination you wish. This is what makes it lots and lots of fun. So I'll put that right to the corner. I'm going to grab my floral image there of the magnolia. Isn't it gorgeous? I was always eyeing this set. So this fits in its entirety on the front panel, and I love that. So what I'm going to do is put the lid on. Then I'm going to ink it up with some Versamark ink. Now you could also do an entire panel as well, a card front, and you can stamp on it, colour on it in advance and then cut it up into strips. But because I'm using 2 colours, I'm going to do the embossing and stamping afterwards. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Make sure I ink this up really well. Excuse me. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp on this. And this is why I love using the Stamparatus. Of course, you can use whichever stamping tool you have. Excuse me, I've got a very dry cough. Please excuse me, I'm going to grab some water and I'll be back. Okay, I am back. So I had to have a drink of water. I'm just moving a little bit there. So we've just got up to stamping this. I may do it again just to ensure I get a lot of the image. Because I think my Versamark ink pad is a little dry, so I want to make sure that I get all of the image and make sure it's right in the corner there. Really stamp it on well. Especially there in the middle. I want to make sure I get all of the image there. All right. So I think that's done. So I will leave it in here just in case. So I'll put this away for the time being. I'm going to now grab my white embossing powder. So I'm just going to open that up. Now other bits have come up, so I'm just going to put some glue and make sure they really stick down. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to colour this image. Now, I love the use of watercolour pencils. I like using my Faber-Castells. It's up to you which watercolour pencils you want to use. These are the ones I have at home and they are beautiful. I love them. Now, the beauty of having pencils or watercolour pencils in general is that you can colour over the top of darker colours and make a really nice image. You can use, with watercolour pencils, you can use your blender pen or you can use a water brush. It is completely up to you. I'm using a blender pen because I find, these are the blender pen Stampin' Up cells. I find that these, you get a packet of 3, so that makes it really cool. You can blend your image easier and you have a lot more control. If you don't like the fact that it reacts with water, there is a way to seal the image, and I can show you that afterwards. And you can use Tim Holtz Distress Microglaze. And basically it is like a Vaseline, and it's a very quick drying formula. You can use your Ranger mini round ink blending tools, which is what I do, is I put it in there, a fine film, and then I just go over the top of the image. And what that does is it seals the colour. So if you were to drop water on it, nothing will happen to it. I tried it and I was very, very impressed. So if you like the versatility of watercolour pencils, use those, or you can use your regular pencils and then you use Gamsol to melt the pencil and blend it. I personally prefer the watercolour pencils. I just think they're a lot more versatile. These are the same in colour as the Polychromos pencils as well, so it is up to you which of the two you'd like to use. To start off with, I'm going to use a white pencil to colour in the flower, and I'll just go over the top. So I've just finished colouring my image there with the watercolour pencils and blender pen. So this is just one way of doing it. I mean, of course, you can just use this as a background and then you can just die cut the image and put it on top. Completely up to you, but I've just thought I'd show you something a little different, and if you want to go down this road, you can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring my micro glaze just so I can show you how it's done. So what I'm going to do is just grab my blending tool, and you don't need much, so that's the beauty of this. So you just need a smear, and then you just go over the image and kind of just blend into it like that. And what this will do is it will it will make your image watercolor fast. So therefore you can drop water on this and the colors will not run, they will stay true. And you can even do this on your stamped images using any kind of watercolor, water-based inks. So this works well for that too. So this is really cool. I love this. And it has a nice smooth feel to it. You can buff it over the top afterwards, but I think this does both at the same time. So yeah, so this will now make that image watercolor fast. So, and it dries quickly. So that's what this looks like. So it's a little different to, you know, what we normally do with cards. So I'll just grab my card base and I'm just going to stick this over the top there. And that's what this looks like. You can, of course, emboss a sentiment, like you can use the thanks that comes from this, or the hello, thinking of you, enjoy today. There's a lot of nice sentiments with this stamp set. I really love that Magnolia image. It's just beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is just going to add glue to the back, and I'm actually going to add glue to the strips as well, just a little film over that too, just to help those those strips sit down onto the card and not move. That way it'll just make it look all straight. Okay, so put this over the top of the card. I'm going to leave my sentiment blank only because I want to be able to use it for whatever occasion I see fit. And sometimes the cards I make on here I end up using as my customer thank you cards or as a birthday card for somebody else. So I'm just going to hold this down and make sure that these strips as well adhere down at the back too. Maybe you're better off just having a clean sheet of cardstock at the back, so you don't have that issue of it warping when you colour or when you heat emboss. So that's up to you. So I'll just make sure that they really stick down, and they're doing well with this now at the moment. Now the white is like a whitewash, but I think it still looks beautiful this way. Let me know your thoughts. Will you try this with different colours? What would you use? So the sky's the limit with these kind of techniques, and I quite like the way that, now you can see like where I used the micro glaze, that will dry off, so you don't need to worry, it won't look like that afterwards. But it is, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to dry, but it's totally worth it because this will now be colour fast, so you cannot ruin it with water if you accidentally spill water or you get water droplets or whatever else on there. So make sure I really stick that down. And that is my finished card for today. I hope you enjoyed it. So this is just using strips of cardstock. You may or may not have those on hand after your card making. But it's a fun way of using up these little tiny strips. Don't chuck them out because you can make a card out of it. Also, the stamp set, if you wish to buy the stamp set, and I know it's not easy with people losing jobs worldwide and the situation being as it is, but if you want to buy the stamp set, it is available through my online store at pepperlyrosepapercrafting.stampinup.net. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me through my online store at pepperyrosepapercrafting.stampinup.net, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now. I'm back. Now with this card, this is a technique, so you can try it in any kind of colour combinations you like. This did not work out very well at all on this card, but I do love the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to restamp this and cut it out with my dies. So the economic part of it, if anything, is to use up your scraps to make a really cool background. So that makes it budget friendly. When you add these together, that's not cheap, but if you can get good use out of it, then it's worth the money as far as I'm concerned. So what I will do is I'm going to restamp this, and I'm going to grab some ink, which I forgot to do, so bear with me and I'll be back in a second. I grabbed another piece of cardstock, Whisper White, and my basic grey ink pad. So I will bring my Stamparatus, I'll just grab that, and I will stamp that image again. Take out the foam, put this in here, grab my stamp, and I'm going to stamp that in basic grey. So I thought it would be cool to show you warts and all. Things don't always work out what you have in your head, so if that happens, it's fun to experiment. Have a look, see if it's your thing. If not, do it again. You can make adjustments. So I think this way it will look a lot nicer. So I'll just concentrate my efforts there and here, especially near the edge there. And I think that turned out lovely for now. So I'm going to clean that stamp. And then what we're going to do is we're going to colour this image. So I'm going to leave this in the stamp positioner, into the Stamparatus. So I'll bring that out, put that away for now. Then I'm going to bring in my coloured pencils, and we're going to colour the image again. So I'll just put a few things away. So with that image there, I'm going to do a peach this time, not a pink. So I'm going to use an equivalent of Blushing Bright. I think that will look really pretty. So I'll just colour that along the bottom there. So I've just finished colouring my image, and I'm just blend out any mistakes I've made with the colour going out of the leaves or whatever else I've done here. So yeah, I'm just trying to blend out the colour. Alright, so that's that done. I might add a little bit more of that blushing bride kind of colour, or you could, that looks like petal pink as well. Just grab that quickly. See, I use all equivalents of Stampin' Up colours, just so you know. So you can easily recreate this yourself with your blends and things like that, your stamping blends. I love my watercolour pencils. I'm not going to part with them in any way. Alright, so I'll just put this all away. And what I'll do is I'll put it back into the Stamparatus, and I'm going to re-stamp the image again as it is. So give that a stamp again. And that will just redefine the colours there. So I'll just bring you up again. Sorry, I'm a bit too close. And okay, so that makes the image a lot more defined. So what I'll do as well is I'm going to ink this up in Versamark, and I'm going to clear emboss this as well over the top just to give it a bit more oomph. So I'm just going to add my Versamark ink. And before I do that, I'm going to use my embossing buddy all over that. Then I'm going to use my Watermark, Versamark, Watermark, it's a Watermark ink. I'm going to go over the top of that. That's the beauty about having a stamping tool like this, is that you can do this over the top. Now, what I'm going to do is just grab my clear embossing powder, and I'll be back. So I've just brought over my clear emboss. I'll just keep cleaning that, I'll get rid of it. Put that away. I'm going to get my clear embossing powder. Just pour it over the top of this. And I'm not sure if you can see the powder, it has stuck onto the image very well. I'll just give it a bit of a flick so that any excess comes off. And I'll grab my heat tool. So that's now all done. See if you can see the shine. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'll try and show that. I don't think it shows up, but there we go. All right. So what I'm going to do with this, beautiful as that is, we're going to cut it up with the Magnolia memory dies. So I've just grabbed the largest image there. This is the first time I'm using these dies, so be careful as well when you're taking them out of the packaging, because they are quite slim. So they're not, anyway, they're quite delicate, so be careful with them. You don't want to warp them. So I'll just grab a little bit of painter's tape to keep them in place. Just make sure I've got them all of the image correct. So I love these dies because there is no guesswork as to where to die cut. You just put it right to the image, and that should cut it accurately for you. So that ought to do it. So I'm going to bring up my big shot. Disaster. But I thought it was a cool technique. You know, you can try that, yeah, if you don't like it, change it like I'm doing. So I'm just going to put my die away. Don't even know how I had it. There it is. So I'll just put that away, back in its spot. Okay, and what we will do is we're going to cover up that mess with this, and that background looks 10 times better. It's amazing what a small change can do. So if that ever happens to you where you had an idea like I did and it didn't turn out very nice, I think the white with the grey just didn't look very good. So once you put this on top, no one will be the wiser. But you made a cool background out of scraps, so that's a very economic way of saving your materials. So we're just going to stick that right down with some glue. No dimensionals or anything like that. So that also makes it economic. And the other brilliant thing is you don't have to pay extra for postage when you have them pretty flat, and it still looks lovely. So put this over the top of that image. Make sure we've got everything there so it's not seen. Cover up that disaster. Now you can add some rhinestones, and I was given some champagne rhinestones by my gorgeous upline. So I will grab those and we'll just dot them around. So this is the economic version, and then I'll step it up just a notch by adding a couple of rhinestones. So bear with me whilst I bring those. Some champagne rhinestones. These look beautiful and they complement that petal pink sort of blushing bride colour. So I'll use those. These aren't overly expensive to buy, but they will last you a while. So I'm just going to grab the smaller stones. I'm going to use my scissors and we'll just add it like there. Not sure if you can see that. And it looks better in real life. There's a lot of light in the room, so put that there. And then we'll put this, whoops. And I'll put that there. So I just put 3 little rhinestones. Not going to break the bank. If you have these lying around, this is a great way to add little accents here and there. So I've just used 3. So I'll show you close up because there. So that adds just a tiny little bit of sparkle. And I love the embossing on this too, if you can see that. Not sure if it can be easily seen. But I really love that. Looks so much better than the dog's breakfast we had before. But yeah, let me know which ones of those you preferred, whether it was this one or the other one. But I'm sure everyone will go for this one because I know I would. So thank you all for watching again. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And this is a great way to add a background and make it look really cool. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.